All right, lads, welcome back to another episode of Who's Got the Ball, episode 52. So that's with weekly episodes. I know we had a few extras, but it's a year's worth of episodes there. If you have one per week, we're happy to have Haji this whole time. And if you are enjoying us, tell some people that you know to give it a listen or give it a watch on YouTube if that's where you watch it. And just try and share the word if you are enjoying it and get some more ears on board heading into the new year. But Shane is here once again, back with me. What's the crack, Shane?
Not a whole lot now. Finally had a quiet week for the first time in what feels like about 2 months. So no mad stories for the weekend. I wasn't away anywhere. Just had a quiet weekend. So it was good for a change. What about yourself?
Yeah, all good. I'm just really getting ready for Christmas festive period. Surprisingly, I've all my shopping done, which I rarely do. But I actually have it done this time, and yeah, just really looking forward to the time off work, and also some of the games that are coming up. There's a lot over the festive period, as there always is, but it feels like year is stacked, especially the NBA Christmas Day is absolutely stacked. So next week, obviously with it being Christmas week, we're gonna drop the episode for you on the Tuesday, which is the 23rd. So you'll get it the day before Christmas Eve, and you'll get a kind of some of the usual stuff, but also some previews thrown in there for the Christmas Day games and the Stevens Day games. And so a kind of a Christmas special a bit earlier than usual, and then we'll hope to drop an extra episode over the festive period, maybe an extra episode or two, a bit shorter, where we talk about some of the stuff that's gone on. But this episode today was absolutely packed. We had a lot on board to talk about. So we started off by talking about the NBA Cup. The Knicks took that one over the Spurs, so we broke down kind of what happened there and maybe what's to come for those two teams. And leading on from that, we talked about if the OKC aren't going to win the championship this year, who will? Will it be one of those two? Will it be the Nuggets? Will it be the Rockets? You'll have to listen to hear what our thoughts on that were. Then we moved on to the NFL, so we gave our clutch player of the week, back offensive, back in the AFC, somebody we haven't mentioned yet, so you'll have to give that one a listen to find out who it was before we moved on to talking about kind of some of the disappointments or the teams that are on the brink. So the Chiefs getting eliminated this year, everything that happened to them, and then the Lions, Bucs, and also the Ravens kind of being on the cusp and not in there right now. And will they make it? And then we gave you Gone Chance as usual, our underdog picks. Talked about our performance of the weekend in the Premier League, Forest battering Spurs, what that means for both teams, and where Spurs are really going to go from here. Then we talked about Bruno Fernandes's interview, the comments that were released this week, and his future at Man United, what's going to happen off the back of that, before previewing the Chelsea Newcastle versus Chelsea game this Saturday. Quite an interesting matchup. Both teams needing a win, especially Newcastle after the way they played last weekend. So we gave that one a preview before giving you our power rankings to wrap up. So that's all that's in store for you for this week's episode. Absolutely packed, as I said. So let's just jump straight into it. All right, so where else to start but with the NBA Cup? It's very prevalent right now, obviously, just went on. So the New York Knicks have taken the third iteration of the NBA Cup, taking down the San Antonio Spurs in the process. So final score in the final game was 124-113. The Spurs kind of had a good hold of it up until like the third quarter, and then the Knicks in the fourth quarter were unbelievable. I don't want to take it away from them because they deserve the win, but I'm left wondering whether a full strength Wemby might have kind of swayed this game because the Knicks were incredibly strong on the offensive boards, especially in the fourth. Wemby played 7 minutes in the fourth, but he didn't look physically fully there. And you saw Mitchell Robinson get 6 of his 10 offensive boards in that fourth quarter, which is massive. And that really just felt like a snowball. They just constantly were getting second chance points, and the Spurs couldn't keep up. But what did you make of the game? And do you think the Knicks were a good value for the win?
Yeah, they were actually my two main points as well. Was the Spurs need Wemby for games like this. I know they beat OKC without him really for kind of doing the same thing with the limited minutes, but this one just showed how much they need him. The Knicks out rebounded them so comfortably. It was 59 rebounds to 42. Offensive boards was 23 to 18, and defensive boards is 36 to 24. Wemby helps to, now he's not going to bring that the whole way back, but he does bring that back a lot if he's kind of at the peak of his powers and really playing to his strengths. So the rebounds made such a difference. Wemby not being there made such a difference. The Knicks fourth quarter just won it for him. 35 to 19 in the fourth quarter. And they just kind of they got on top of it, but they just weren't letting it go. Then OG Anunoby was brilliant. Jalen Brunson was excellent again. Got the MVP for the tournament, and then Josh Hart is just such a solid kind of. I don't want to call him a fifth man because I feel like I'm giving him damn praise, but he's such a good fifth man in this roster for a certain team. That's like, I think they were saying in the commentary after that every team needs a Josh Hart, and they're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Every team needs someone that can just kind of show up and do what he does every now and again.
Yeah, I think it's interesting as well the way that the roster is being used. I like it a lot more than last year, because obviously Thibodeau was using players like basically till breaking point, and he constantly rolled with that five of Hart, Brunson, Ananobi, Bridges, and Cat, and they were just playing so many minutes. Whereas now you see Hart is getting like in the 20s some games, Bridges the same. Really, the only players that are pushing 40 minutes are Brunson and Ananobi. Like you mentioned,
Yeah,
he was just unbelievable. The fact that like the team isn't built around him, like they probably have sets that they go to for Cat and for Brunson, but Ananobi has to create his own and find his own space. And just his footwork, even there was one shot early on Wemby when Wemby first checked in. I think it was a three, and he just looked like he was going to go by him, and then he stepped back a little bit. He just needed a tiny bit of space to get that shot off. So he's clearly worked on his game massively. I saw before the game, Dirk Nowitzki was saying on the broadcast that Ananobi had contacted him and asked him for tips on shooting, and was like really asking like very, very small details and stuff. So he's obviously working on his game a lot. And I liked the way Brunson played because you often saw last season where he would kind of get stuck in the mud where he'd be like, right, I have to win this. I have to keep taking shots. But he was kicking out without any hesitation every time and
yeah.
keeping the ball moving. And that's coming from Mike Brown. I think he's kind of instilled a new style there, and a lot more fluid. They're not still not a great defensive team, but last night the Spurs were shooting themselves in the foot a lot, especially in the fourth quarter. So if you have a very good offensive rebounding team, if you even have a mid level defense, it's kind of going to make up for it.
Absolutely. You made a great point there about minutes as well. There were seven players last night for the Knicks that played 20 minutes or more. Another played 18. I'd almost count him in it as well, to be honest. But as you said again, it was only an Obi and Brunson with over 40. Mikhail Bridges was 33 and Towns was 30. So he's not running any of them into the ground at all. And this is kind of might be one of those games where you just left Obi and Brunson out there, one, because they were on fire, and two, so you are getting a trophy at the end of it. So you might as well try and kind of if you're going to push in any game, this might as well be the game you push him in. I didn't know that about Ananobi. I think that's a great point, and he looks a far different player this year than he did last year. Brunson
Oh,
as well looks
constantly.
like he's trusting him more as well. Offensively, yeah. So yeah, I think they're a really good team, but I picked them as my championship winners back in our
Mm.
preview, and I'm not so certain anymore. I think they're quite poor defensively in general, but they're really exciting to watch. So are the Spurs though, so it was actually a really good matchup between them.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great game because I think the Spurs and Knicks made a better matchup. If the OKC, I know that they lost to the Spurs, so you can't really say that, but I think the OKC would have just blown the Knicks away if they played them.
Mm,
It was kind of like a blip for them losing that game against the Spurs. So one thing that did stand out to me, is how Dylan Harper played. I think he was impressive and he was actually aggressive with his shooting last night. Like he made five threes all season before that. He only made 10. So like he showed a lot more promise from three last night and a lot more kind of confidence taking those shots because the majority of the season he's only been taking like one or two from three. So I think he took seven last night. In general, I feel about the Spurs kind of that they might not be there to win more than like one playoff season series
mm.
because if Wemby's going to be in and out of the lineup, I'm not sure what way they're going to be fixed when April rolls around. But if he is consistently there and they build something and they play like they did against OKC or like the first three quarters of last night, then yeah, they can push to get far this time around. But there's still a lot of issues I think that they need to solve as well as the Knicks.
Yeah, I think they're another team who might be a year or two shy of winning a championship. They are building a really really good roster. Fully young fellas. Stefan Castle, I think, is absolutely brilliant. He wasn't great last night. He was 33%, but he was still, I think he was 5 from 15, which is like, it's not ideal, but he was 12 and 15, a double double. So he has come on quite well when Wemby has been out. So we'll see if he can he can work with Wemby when Wemby is back in the team. And then as you who did you just mention for the trees?
Oh,
Dylan
Dylan
Harper.
Harper. Yeah.
Like he got 28 minutes last night, 21 points and 7 rebounds. It's not bad either. So they are definitely putting together a roster of people who are going to do something, but they need to get Wemby back fully fit to a point where he can play his 75 or 80 games if you need him to and kind of see where they go then. I don't think they'll be winning a championship this year, but you never know in the next 2 or 3 years if they keep getting firsts the way they keep getting first. So
Yeah.
picks, I mean.
Yeah. That kind of dovetails nicely into our next question is who else can win the championship outside of OKC? So if we take the OKC out of the conversation, who really is the team that, or multiple teams that have a chance? I think I'd like to start in the East because I think the West is more obvious conversation, or there's more teams there that you would consider. For me, there's three or four teams knocking around in my mind, but the Pistons aren't there yet, to be honest, and neither are the Hawks. Both of those teams
Mm.
are teams that need to make a move before they can get there. They have good teams, good rosters, but they're one player away, like a superstar or someone they can really rely on. And I think for the Hawks, Giannis is interesting because they've played really well without Trey Young. So if they're willing to give up Trey, give up someone else, and give up that Pelicans pick, maybe that's what gets Giannis over there, and you have him and Jalen Johnson together would be an unbelievable tandem. So if they did that, then I'd consider them. But for now, those two are on the periphery for me. The Magic are a little bit closer. I think they could get there the longer they play together. They're still clearly figuring out how to play with Bane, but they are a dangerous team and good defensively. And then top of the pile, I think in the East is the Knicks. The Cavs have fallen off a cliff for me. I don't think they're going to get there, but the Knicks maybe could be the only team in the East that I really like. But again, defensively, it's going to be tough. I think the best chance they have is if they win out in a weakened East and they face off against a West team that's like completely depleted and tired by the time they get there.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think the Cavs and the Pacers have been the two biggest surprises for me this year. I thought they were going to come in again this year and just run away with that division, but neither of them have been able to do a single thing. It's been very, very strange to watch them both at times. And the Cavs in particular, I can't believe how bad they've gotten.
Yeah, at least
The
the Pacers have
76ers
excuses.
just,
Like they have the
yeah, they
injuries
have
and stuff.
injuries. Yeah. The 76ers, I don't know if you, like, I know when you were talking about it, just after Michael said here, I don't know if you ever thought, like, I don't think you were ever talking about them at championship level.
No,
I, I, I think they can get playoffs, obviously, and I think they can win a series, but I don't think they're going anywhere close to it either. So I am inclined to agree with you that it's such a weak division, in terms of teams that are in there. Like it's the East compared to the West. I'm not going to use a cliche, so that's why I stopped myself. But it really is just the difference in level is actually it's astounding. Like there's 4 or 5 teams on the West that could do it. There's one, maybe two on the East.
yeah, I
But
agree.
no, I think the Knicks have the best option from that side.
Yeah, especially given that I know it's only in the NBA Cup, but it's competitive basketball, and they
Yeah.
showed they can do it in one-off games. So it's going to be interesting how they kind of navigate a series. And I'm more confident in them now than I was at the start of the season, really, to be honest, especially with how the Cavs have performed, like you mentioned. And on the West, I already kind of spoke about the Spurs and how it's a wait and see. I don't think they're there yet. Lakers offensively are amazing. They have Aston Reeves, Fire, and Luca and LeBron, but the defense is so poor that they're going to ultimately have like a super exciting series, but every time they lose 4-1 or 4-2, once they face a good team, because someone like the
Mm.
Rockets is just going to bully them off the court. So mainly for me, then it's really just the Rockets and Nuggets that are sitting at the forefront of my mind as the best chances outside of OKC.
Yeah, no, 100% agreed. I actually thought you'd do more on the Sorry, I thought you'd do more on the Nuggets. So I actually did a little piece on the Rockets why I think they can win it.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I've got a
as
good bit on the Nuggets here.
completely
I'll do
unbiased.
it.
I just when I was looking into the Rockets stats, they're third in offensive rating and defensive rating, and they're second to OKC in terms of net rating. The problem is that they haven't beaten any team who's over 600 yet this year, which is something you're going to have to do when you get to the playoffs a lot if you are going to win a championship. But against the Nuggets the other night, they were one iffy decision away from winning it in regular time. I'm still not 100% sure if Eamon Thompson did foul him or not. It's about
Mm.
14 different camera angles and none of them are conclusive. And that gives you a win there. We play them again on December 20th, so we'll see what they're like then. I thought Şengün stood up to Jokic really, really well. The two of them got triple doubles. Şengün was 33, 10, and 10. And Jokic, I think, was 35, 15, and 10. But it was a really good matchup between the two big fellas. But Jokic is what he can do with a ball is actually outrageous, especially for a man his size. It's quite scary. And then the Nuggets, I'll let you lead in on them, but I just think they're an absolute class act. They really
Yeah.
are. Just it's not just Jokic. There's just everything around him. Just it all works towards him and for him, but also with him.
Yeah, I agree with you. On the points you made about the Rockets, it is a little bit concerning not having beaten some of those teams, but we're only a small bit into the season, so I think they'll should steady the ship on that front. And I would also point out the overtime loss on night one as well
Yeah,
against the OKC, and that was like a very good game too. That could have went down to it. And in terms of the foul, I don't know. It's hard to know, but at the same time, I feel like Jokic didn't get a lot of calls that he should have as well because he's so big that
Mm,
sometimes he doesn't get them. So that's one of those ones you just chalk up to it'll even itself out.
yeah,
39, 15, 10, 2 and 2 on 48 and 55% splits is just unbelievable. Like he's not he's not human. Like the way he plays
no,
basketball, he's by far the best player in the world. Right now he's sitting at the highest points per game of his career with 29.8, highest assists of his career with 10.8. And that's all on the second highest field goal of his percentage of his career with 61.3%. So he's shooting the ball more, but yet his field goal percentage is the best it's ever been. He's shooting the best 3 point percentage ever of his career while shooting the most threes of his career. Like these things
yeah,
don't make sense. And he's second in true shooting percentage in the league with 72%. Now AJ Green is first, which is very impressive. He has a good shot, but he's taken 10 less shots per game than him. So like Jokic taking 10 more than AJ Green, still basically having it.
law of
To be
averages.
in second is crazy.
Yeah,
So I think outside of Jokic, then you're looking at some players that are a little bit question marks at the start of the season, and then injuries too. Like Cam Johnson didn't look fully like fitting into the system, but now he seems to come into his own a little bit more. Um, Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon both had injuries. Gordon looked really, really good until he got his injury. And those guys being in and out of the lineup is tough. But despite all this, they have a 19-6 record, which outside of the OKC and the Pistons is the best in the league. So, like to go through periods of having injuries and still being this good, it's tough to see past them and OKC right now. I think they're just on another level, and you're looking at for once Jamal Murray actually going right. I'm going to play
yeah,
in the regular season. He wants that All
yeah,
NBA pick. 25 points per game, 4.5 boards, and 7 assists per game. All the best of his career. He's grabbing one steal a game, 50, 45, and 90 splits. Like to have him and Jokic on the same team, it doesn't matter what other injuries and chopping and changing you have. This just how can you stop that? And once it's in the playoffs, I think it's going to ramp up even more.
yeah. 100%. Jamal Murray against the Rockets was outrageous as well. Like whatever Jokic was doing, like it was hard to take your eyes off Jamal Murray at times as well. Like, 35 points, 3 rebounds and 5 assists. I think he's what he finished with, which is when Jokic is putting up 30, 39, 15, and 10 as well. It's like it's really hard to stop. It's really hard to stop the two of them. Like the Rockets getting that to be within close enough at the end of it was quite impressive when like the Rockets just cannot shoot trees at the moment unless their name is Reed Shepherd, like no one can put up trees. Eamon Thompson shouldn't be allowed to shoot from further than 4 foot from the hoop at the moment. He just can't. It's like I don't
He
understand,
needs to
but
call up Dirk
uh,
Nowitzki.
yeah, 100%. He needs to have a word because his shooting from outside the arc is actually it's just pitiful, and he is such a good player as well. He's still got 14 and 12, but that's in 44 minutes. He should be getting a lot more than 14 points in 44 minutes. Yeah, I think the Nuggets and OKC are just on another planet. I think it's one of those things where when we were talking about the preseason, I just didn't want to believe it. So you're kind of just thinking like, gosh, the Rockets will be able to land the glove on these, and the Rockets now have like they have played a lot less games than a lot of the other teams. Rockets have only played 23, so there's a bit of catching up to do as well. But that means more back to backs and probably means more losses for the Rockets as well. So yeah, I think if it's not going to be OKC, I do think it is going to be the Nuggets that win the South. Um, if they're
South.
playing in the conference finals, I'm going to stay up for all seven of those games.
You just said
What are you
the
laughing at?
South, the South
Sorry, the
instead of
West.
the
I don't know
West.
where the South came from. Sorry, if the Thunder Nuggets are playing in the West final, then I'm going to stay up for every single one of those games. You can cut out the other part. Thanks.
No, it's staying in there now. The deep south. We'll get Adam Silver on the line. He'll be coming up with the south and the north soon enough. There'll be about 60 teams in the NBA in no time, I'd say.
Well, they
But
need to do something about the East anyway to make it better because what's the point of it like at this stage?
yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, I think the Rockets still like they are a little bit off those two front runners. But when you have
Mm,
two killers like in Shengun and KD in your team, then you can win a series against pretty much anybody. I just think that the Nuggets are on another planet, and then the OKC are just even further than that. So I think
yeah.
those two are definitely the leading contenders. But we'll move on to the NBA or the NFL side of things. So back with our clutch player of the week pick, back on offense again. This time is probably somebody who we could have given it to, or we could have spoken about maybe a bit more this season, but it was always kind of a wait till he proves it a bit more. And I think he finally has proven it, and that's Bo Nix. Unbelievable performance against a really strong defense and a strong secondary. 302 yards, 67.6%, four touchdowns on nearly 9 yards per completion. So that's his highest of the season on yards per completion and the highest of his entire career. Like they beat the Chiefs, they beat the Texans, they beat the Eagles, all at times where those teams maybe I feel were vulnerable. But this is a Packers team at the peak of its powers, and they managed to take them down, and he was the reason for that. So how far can Bo Nix take this Broncos team?
I'm still so confused by this whole NFL season because the Broncos are 12-2, and honestly don't know if they're good or not. Like clearly they're good, but I don't know are they that good that they can go out here and win a championship? I don't think Bo Nix is anything special. I know he's after putting out four touchdowns there yesterday, but this is like I think it was his first time in 5 weeks where he threw more than one touchdown pass. I know he's come out and he's gone absolutely off the walls here, but like he's quietly effective. Like he hasn't been throwing that many interceptions. He's only had two games all season with two interceptions. He had seven without any. The rest have just been one, and that is really good, especially for he's only in his second or third year in the league as well, so he is still growing. But like this Broncos team just doesn't make any sense to me. Like it's the same with the Patriots. How the Patriots are 11-3 and this Broncos team are 12-2, and I just like I look on paper, the Lions should be better than them. The Chiefs should be better than them. They're both now out of the playoff pretty much. The Cowboys should probably be better than them as well. How far can Bo Nix take them? Oh, it depends on the teams around them, I think. It depends on when they play these other teams and how good they show up on the day. Because I don't think it'll be what Bo Nix does. I think it will be what the other team don't do. Will depend on
Yeah.
how far the Broncos get.
Yeah, I'm fine, like falling onto a similar line to you. Like I spent the whole of last season and all of this season just not thinking he's really above maybe a
Mm,
12th or 13th quarterback in the league. Like he's not up there with the top 10. And he's the type of guy that maybe never will, but he'll just have a great defense that plays with him, have a great O line, and have a great coach. No matter how insufferable Sean Payton can be at times, he is a very good coach, seasoned. He knows what he's doing. And there's a reason why this is the highest completion yards per completion of Bo Nix this season. Most of the time, it's all checkdowns and they just run the ball pretty hard.
mm.
And they couldn't do that as well, so they drew up something different. And I was shocked, to be honest, by how good he played. I didn't think that he had that in him, especially when they were losing. And because most of the time they're front runners, they're leading, and they come back and they hold on to that lead. Now they did come back a couple of times, like against the Giants, but that's the Giants, like But this is
Yeah.
different. This is the Packers, and I think they were 23-14 down, and to have that comeback, it's pretty impressive. But like for me, I agree with you. Like they end the season, they play with the Jags at home, who are also kind of on the way up. And I've seen more from Trevor Lawrence in the last 3 weeks than I did in the past 4 years. So
Yeah.
that would be interesting to
No,
see.
one of those games was the Jets.
That's
So
true. Yeah,
we'll
that
say
is
the
also
last two
true.
and a half weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got Kansas City. Going to Kansas City. I know it's not the same as having Mahomes there. He won't be playing, but at the same time, it will be difficult to take on a division opponent at any time, and then to finish against the Chargers. I think the Chargers are very good, and for me right now, if I was looking at the AFC picture, I would take the Bills, the Chargers, and the Texans all over the Broncos in a matchup. I'd say they're
Mm.
50-50 with the Patriots. And then if the Ravens got in, I like their chances to just be to know what to do in the playoffs more than the Broncos do now. That's an if. So really I'm looking at them maybe being the fifth best team in the division when it comes to the playoffs or in the conference. But yet they're the number one seed, so it's kind of
Yeah.
weird saying that.
It's so hard to just like this whole season, and we're going to talk about it more in a couple of minutes. So I won't jump too far ahead, but this whole season has just been so strange to watch. The teams should be good have been terrible. The teams have been terrible. But then, like the Jaguars, they're all of a sudden, I think they're third seeds.
Yeah.
How on earth has this happened? Like, and the likes of the Chiefs obviously dropping out of the playoff picture is absolute. It's just bonkers to me that that's happened. And then you have Bo Nix shooting lights out. Trevor Lawrence shooting lights out over the last 3 weeks. The Texans have just been going under the radar, but they're still like they're solid. They just haven't done anything spectacular. They haven't done anything stupid either. So no one's been really talking about them. Like I don't like this version of the NFL. I want the old NFL back, but just we can just the Chiefs can stay crap, but just bring back the old version of the NFL.
I mean, it makes it harder for us to like analyze it and sound like we know what we're talking about because it's so random.
Impossible, yeah.
But at the same time, it makes it more exciting every weekend because everything is changing. It's kind of like the Premier League this season. Everything from like, well, at this point, Arsenal are coming back to the pack a little bit. So everything
Mm,
from the first position to like 13th is just pure random. Like anyone can beat anybody. And I will say, I haven't brought it up since we did the predictions because I didn't want to say it before they get there. But I'm going to come back to my prediction of the Bills and Texans being the AFC championship game. I'm pretty happy with that because I saw how good the Texans defense
mm.
was, and it was only a matter of time before they clicked, and they really did. And CJ Stroud is balling now, so I'm pretty happy with that prediction. Now it's not done, it's not there, but those two seem like some of the strong, maybe two of the strongest teams in that conference. And then last year you look at the Broncos as well. They got battered 31-7 by the Bills when they got into the playoffs. So that wouldn't
Yeah,
exactly give you a whole lot of hope. But let's see when they get there. As you
yeah.
mentioned,
If you're going
there's
back
a
to predictions, I'm going to say that I did call the Broncos to win the AFC as well in the predictions. So people should listen to us both.
there you go. You're on the ball there. So both of us are. We do know something, even in the craziest of NFL seasons. We do know a little bit of something.
Yeah, I take back what I said. I quite like this version of the NFL where I get things right. So we'll actually keep this one.
So, like you said, it's kind of been a really weird season. Want to look at some of the teams that might still make it, but they're on the brink, and then the Chiefs have been eliminated. So let's go on them first. First time Chiefs have missed the playoffs since 2014. It was an unbelievable run, to be fair. They got to the
Mm.
AFC Championship game or better every single year that Mahomes has been the starter since 2018, which is just crazy. Five Super Bowls in that time, I believe. To be fair, he had a good season this year. 3,500 yards, mostly kind of effective on the ground as well, more than he ever has been. 422 yards and five touchdowns. I think last year they won way too many tight games and it caught up to them. We both said that that
Yeah,
would happen at the start of the season, and it has. And now ultimately they are eliminated officially. And right as that happened, I hope people don't remember this as the season that he gets injured and blame that for why they missed out because they missed out way before he got injured. And now his ACL and LCL are torn. 9 month rehab after this surgery, so still expect him to be back week one, I would say. But yeah, a long road ahead and a very different road maybe for the Chiefs going into next year.
yeah. So I'm glad you brought up the point about how much running he had to do. this year in comparison to other years. Because one of my main points was that they're wide receivers. So Rasheed Rice, Xavier Worthy, and Hollywood Brown, they're all the same player. I don't know if that makes sense, but they all do the exact same thing as the other one does. They've no one out there who's like a real difference to what they're doing. So it's like everyone just knows, oh, if just Rasheed Rice goes deep or Wordy goes deep or Hollywood Brown might go deep or he might be the short ball. Outside that, it was just Kelsey. And then other than that, he didn't really have anyone to kind of, when the chips were down, like who was he counting on? Because Kelsey was kind of looked a bit over the hill this year at times. And then the three wide receivers are probably just I don't know if immature is the right word, but I think Hollywood Brown is definitely immature for the balls he drops. Xavier Worthy's young in the league, and Rasheed Rice obviously missed a bit of time over off field incidents. So I
Yeah.
think he only threw 21 touchdown passes, which is not a whole lot for him, and it's because he just didn't have the options. And then his defense was letting him down as well. So like no one saw this coming. But as you said, like the amount of one score games they were winning last year, it was going to catch up to them eventually, and it's just really, really come home to roost this year.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because I feel like they probably drew it up that like, oh, Hollywood Brown and Wordy will be like our deep threats, and we're gonna go back to like when we had Tyreek Hill. Neither of those guys are a patch on Tyreek Hill, so it's not the same thing.
No,
And Rice is supposed to be like your guy in the slant, and then teams are literally blowing him up like with tackles. And in the last 2 weeks, he got absolutely obliterated in two tackles, and obviously the jokes wrote themselves from there after what he did in the off season.
mm,
So it's hard to have pity for somebody who did the things he did off the field. But some crazy stats on the Chiefs for you right now, right? So this season, 357.9 yards per game. And last year they had 327.6 yards per game. So just over 30 better. 23.4 points per game scored, 22.6 points per game scored last year. So they're better on that as well. They've allowed 303.1 yards per game, and last year they allowed it 320.6 yards per game, so nearly 20 yards better there too. And then this year they've allowed 19.1 points per game, and last year they allowed 19.2, so barely better, pretty much the same. Last year they finished 15-2. This year they finished 6-8. They were better on every single thing. It just doesn't make sense. The way they were winning last year just did not make sense. And this year they've lost way more games than they should have. So it's kind of like the two seasons balanced out across the last two seasons. They're 21-10 up to this point, which you'd say, all right, yeah, maybe that's around what they've played. But the
yeah,
way it's dispersed is just pure random. Like last year, it only lose two games despite playing markedly worse than they have this year.
yeah, that's madness. But it does go. It just goes to show, like if you do a Patrick Mahomes, he can get you down the field, get you in field goal range with in the space of 40 seconds, and you like that's why they were winning all those games last year. It was just Harrison Butker kicking balls over the bar or Mahomes
Yeah,
doing something absolutely out of this world that they just haven't been able to rely on this year. Butker's kicking. I brought it up on our Twitter a couple of weeks or maybe a few months back, where his kicking has just been so poor. He was missing so many extra points at the start of the season, and it was costing him games. And I know this is ridiculous now, but like the Giants moving on to their fourth kicker of the season, they just waived Young Wei Koo. Like the fact that the Chiefs have stuck with Harrison Butker for the whole season is a bit mad to me. Like
yeah.
maybe just not many options out there, but like surely if you can trust your kicker, you just get rid of him the way the Giants have over and over and over again.
Yeah, but it shows how bad the options are out there when they have to go through four.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, that's the other side of it too. So I suppose if kind of the devil you know is better than the one that might come around or knock on the door. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think there's so many things this year that have just have been so un-Chiefs like, and the way they've attacked hasn't been very Chiefs, and the way they've defended has been very Chiefs. But it's the lack of attacking threat has really killed them, and not being able to trust their kicker when they needed him as well has killed them.
Yeah, no, I agree with you definitely. The kicking situation is he's missing like at least one per game, which is not
Mm,
really something you can rely on. But looking at a couple of other teams then that people expected to be well in it and probably comfortably in it by now and that are sitting on the outside. First of all, in the AFC we have the Ravens, so they're second in their division. They are 7-7 right now. We've got the Pittsburgh Steelers at 8-6, but the Steelers did beat them already. So next up, the Steelers have Detroit and Cleveland. And next up, the Ravens have New England and Green Bay. Really two tough games.
Mm.
And then final game of the season, Ravens versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Basically, could be coming down to the decider for the division because I fancy both teams to go 1-1. I think the Lions will beat the Steelers and then they'll beat the Browns, and I think the Ravens might grab one win against New England or Green Bay, and then that'll come down to the final game. So that's it's going to be really interesting. It'll come down to other tiebreakers within the conference and divisional records and stuff like that. Won't bore you with all that right now, but like, do you think the Ravens are going to have one over here, or are the Steelers kind of already too far ahead that that one extra game will make all the difference?
I think if the Steelers do lose to the Lions this weekend coming, then and the Ravens win, then I think the Ravens will pip them to us. In the Ravens' defense, the injuries they've had across the board this year have been absolutely outrageous. Like it's just one of those freak seasons where I think everyone on the offensive line at one point has been out injured, and Lamar has missed games as well. So it's been hard for them to get any sort of momentum. So for them to still be even within a fighting chance of getting a playoff spot at this point, I actually think needs to be commended a bit. I think if the Lions beat the Steelers, then the Ravens will pip them to us.
Yeah, I think there was one point in the season where like maybe their five highest paid players or five of their seven
Mm,
highest paid players were all out, and it was like over 100 million in cap space that was out.
yeah.
So it's kind of tough when you have that. The other side of it is Lamar looked really poor when he first came back because he was clearly not himself. But then last week he was very good against the Bengals, and he kind of put the Bengals to bed. So I do think that this weekend is pivotal because, like you said, if the Lions go out and they beat the Steelers, and then you've got New England versus the Ravens, and I think that's on Sunday Night Football. That'll be a huge game then, and that'll be one that the Ravens need to win. So if that does go that way, I do fancy them to get there too. And then another couple of teams I've highlighted on the NFC side of things are the Lions and the Bucs. So in the Lions situation, they're really looking to catch the Packers because I think the Bears have run away with that division, maybe,
Mm.
unless the Packers do beat the Bears, and then they are pulled straight back into it. But I just think that the Bears are kind of in a prime position right now, especially with Micah Parsons having gone down. It's going to be tough for the Packers. So the Lions might be trying to catch the Packers for that seven seed, and then they're playing Pittsburgh, Minnesota, and the Bears, and the Packers play the Bears, Baltimore, and Minnesota. So I find it difficult to see which one of these is going to get through because they both have very, very similar lead-ins. It's really whether you value the Steelers or the Ravens more, and we already kind of made a mark on that. So I think the Lions could still scrape in if they win their last three, and the Packers stumble to the finish line.
Yeah, I'd like the Lions to get through, mostly because I did pick them to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
So
they
that's where
can't
all
miss the
my money
playoffs.
is. But oh yeah, if they don't make the playoffs, then I'll actually have to just hang my head in shame. It'd be absolutely scandalous. But the Lions team confused me because they're so good at scoring points after point after point, and but then they lose so many games. Like the game last weekend, they had such a commanding lead at halftime, just came out in the second half and forgot how to play, and they've done that a couple of times this year. Then they go and beat the Cowboys, which was a tough game, and then lose again the week after. So they are really going to need to win. I always think they have a 48% chance at the moment.
Okay.
Hopefully, if they can win this weekend, get that up to about 73 and work out from there. Then.
Yeah, I think that this Steelers game it's so funny the way these all interlock because you're looking at the Ravens and Steelers both wanting to get in. You're looking at the Bears, Lions, and Packers wanting to get in, and they all end up playing each other at some point or some variation of that. And then over in the NFC South is a different story altogether. It's like two teams that don't want to get in the Panthers and the Bucks,
Yeah.
just throwing games away. I think the Bucks have it now at this point because currently they're leading the division because of their either division or conference record. I'm not sure which one. They play each other twice, so it's the Panthers against the Bucks this weekend. Then the weekend after, the Bucks have the Dolphins and the Panthers have the Seahawks. So the Panthers have a way tougher game there, and then they finish up playing each other again. So I think the only way that the Panthers get this spot is if they beat the Bucks twice, because I like the Bucks to beat the Dolphins, and if they split the other games, then I think it's lights. It's good night the Panthers there, unfortunately, who had a great chance. I think the Bucs are just going to sneak in and then they'll probably get hammered in the first round of the playoffs because they don't look the same team that they were 6, 7, 8 weeks ago, even.
Yeah, I think the Panthers would be happy with the way the season has gone from in general. From how bad they were last year to what they've done this year has been a massive turnaround from. So I don't see them beating the Bucks twice and winning their other game as well. So I agree with you. I think the Bucks will sneak in and then get absolutely walloped out the door in the first round or the wild card round.
Yeah, this is a really tough NFC as well. And they'll be playing like they could play the Lions, Packers, Niners, Seahawks in the first round. Like that's going to be way too tough. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, and it's interesting to see these teams just still sitting on the outside after how long we are into this season and different times when we expected them to just. They looked already this season, like the Lions especially and the Bucks both looked like on fire at points in this season, and now they've just fallen off really.
Before we do move on,
Go ahead.
just one more thing. The Christmas Day games went from looking like a group of world beater games to games that could mean absolutely nothing by the time we get to them. Commanders, Cowboys, Cowboys, and Commanders could both be out of the reckoning. Vikings, Lions. If the Lions lose this weekend, they're out of the reckoning. And then Chiefs, Broncos. Broncos are through and Chiefs are out. So Amazon and Netflix must be hair and hair out left, right, and centre. Like, how have we let this happen? Were these the games we picked and none of them have any meaning for the 300 million we spent on them?
I know, and Jaden Daniels is shut down for the season as well, so it's like
Yeah.
completely boring game. I think
Mm,
nobody will be watching that, and then it'll be they'll just be praying that the Lions can win this weekend to keep that other one interesting. But
yeah.
so gone chance then from last week. You had one right, and I did not have any, so we're even right now. We're 14-14. Um, yes, I think the first time we've been tied, or maybe in a long time, the first time we've been
Yeah,
tied.
no, it is the first time we've been tied, yeah.
I had the Bengals to beat the Ravens. That didn't come off. That was awful. Burnley to beat Fulham is a bit of a mad game, but it didn't come off. And then the
Mm,
Hawks to beat the Pistons. The Pistons ran away with it late. You had the Lions to beat the Rams, which the Rams kind of enforced their will at the end of that game. West Ham to beat Villa, which was an interesting game as well, but didn't work out. And then
yeah.
the Bucks to beat the Celtics, which probably was the least likely out of the three for me in my mind, but still
Of
that
the
one came
six.
off. Of
It
the
was the
six,
least
yeah.
likely of the six that were picked, I think, yeah.
So you got that one over the line. I'll throw out mine this week. So first up, I'm
Hmm.
going with the Chargers to beat the Cowboys. Chargers are 11-10, and the Cowboys are 10-13. That's Sunday at 6 p.m. I think I don't know why the Chargers are underdogs here because I know they've got a banged up offensive line, and I think it is in Dallas. But either way, the Chargers just basically love to muddy up games and beat teams the way they want to beat them. So I think they'll just do that again. Everton then 9-2 to beat Arsenal, who are 3-5. That's Saturday night at 8 p.m. I just think it's written in the stars that Arsenal lose this weekend and City win, so that City are top at Christmas after how well Arsenal have gone. And it just happens that's the way it ends up at Christmas time. It would just be such an Arsenal unfolding of events, and I think Everton will want to bounce back from that Chelsea loss because they've been very up and down this season. I think this could be one of their games where they're on the up at home in an evening game before Christmas. And then lastly, I know I've talked good about the Magic and I expect them to continue to put it together, but I'm going with the Jazz to beat them. The Jazz are 10-15 and the Magic are 15-12, 15-11, sorry. And that's at 2:30 a.m. on Friday night, but like the Magic, they do lose games, and we saw the Jazz. They can put up like 140 points in a game, and like they almost did to the Rockets. They beat them and put up a lot of points. So I think the Magic sometimes find it very hard to score a lot. So if the Jazz have one of those nights, then I think this one could come off.
Um, I can't tell you how close we were to having three the same this week. I have the Jazz, I have the Chargers. I was so close to having Everton to beat Arsenal, but I actually changed it up last second. I've gone with Wolves to beat Brentford. Wolves 13-5, Brentford evens. Wolves are going to win again eventually. Brentford are absolutely horrific away from home. Wolves have gotten some amount of confidence out of that Arsenal game last week, knowing that they can. They're still absolutely atrocious, but knowing that they can kind of put it up to someone. I could see them going out here and just getting 1-0 up and just holding out. I know Igor Thiago is scoring goals like there's no tomorrow, and if a man called Haaland didn't exist, he'd be the top scorer in the league. But Brentford's away form is just so poor that I think Wolves, if Wolves don't win this one, then it could be March before they even look like winning the game. So I've gone with Wolves to beat Brentford, Jazz to beat the Magic, and Chargers to beat the Cowboys.
We're actually on two counts very close to being the same because I was like very, very close to going with Wolves. And I was thinking the exact same thing. They have to win at one point. And then I was like, I don't want to go against Brentford because of the Irish thing. I was like, oh, I'm just
Yeah,
going with Everton because it's more funny if they manage to get a win over and City win. So, yeah, interesting. I think those are four solid picks between us that we've come up with there. So I like them. Let's move on then to the football. We've got our performance of the weekend as usual. So Nottingham Forest 3, Spurs nil, an absolute battering. Right from the start, Forest looked like they were rattling that Spurs defense. Like I think it was Sangare hit the post after like 5 minutes. Spurs could not deal with the ball into the box at any point. And honestly, I can't stand Vicario. I think he's an awful goalkeeper. He makes so many mistakes and then he tries to blame it on everybody else. Like that one against Fulham where he kept the ball in play, jogged back to the goal and then start blaming
yeah,
everybody else. And then he did the same thing in this game, gave it to Archie Gray, didn't shout, didn't give him a shout that to someone behind him. Gray loses the ball, it's a goal, and then he gives out to Gray. Like, you put him in a dire position there. Both of you should be taking the blame. You can't blame him. But on the Forest side of things, Hudson Odoi on fire. Second goal was definitely a cross, but the technique was
oh
brilliant
yeah.
anyway. And then
It's also
Sangari's
Vicario's fault as well.
yeah, and then Sangari's technique for that goal, my lord, off the
Some
post, but this
finish,
time it
yeah.
went in. So, yeah, what did you think of Forest on Saturday?
First of all, I want to continue the dumping on Vicario. He's absolutely atrocious. He can't do anything from corners or crosses. Blames everyone else. His shot stopping it's average. It was a lot better last year than it is this year. I just think he's not a keeper that should be playing for a team playing in the Champions League. I think he's absolutely awful. But Spurs are far worse. We'll get on to them in a second. I think for Forest, I honestly at this point, I think there's no team in the league is in more of a false position than Forest are. They're far too good to be down where they are in 16th. I think they are now. They'll if they keep going the way they're going, that they'll surely get into top 10 or top 12. Might be top 12 was how poor they started the season, but. And Elliot Anderson, Singari is coming into his own now. Callum Hudson-Odoi was excellent against Spurs as well. Spurs just couldn't deal with him. Just could not deal with him at all. And Thomas Franks' subs made no sense. Bringing on Ben Davies because you were struggling with people running at you is you might as well have just taken off Jed Spence and brought on no one because Ben Davies has no pace anymore. So what are you doing putting him in there as kind of a left-sided centre back of a back four? It just made no sense. Thomas Frank will be in trouble. I had Elliot Anderson as some player. Sangare, they signed him years ago and he did nothing for a while, but now he's looking like the player they wanted this year.
Mm.
I'd love their two fullbacks. They were excellent against Liverpool as well. Salamino and Nico
Savona,
Williams. Sabona, yeah, thank you. Should have written it
Salmon.
down. But it's Christmas. I was on with Semolina. But
Jesus Christ.
yeah, just
Awful.
even on the stats, like 15 shots to five. Like that's like Spurs should not be going to Nottingham Forest at any point and giving up three times as many shots, especially when this Forest goalkeeper is making his Premier League debut and he's absolutely awful by all accounts as well. Like you need to just start firing balls at him left, right, and centre and seeing if he'll do what Vicario does over and over again. Spurs more fouls, more yellow cards. Just like, but they like the fouls weren't even. I'm angry at you. I'm going to kick you, so I get a bit of anger out. It was just they couldn't keep up with the Forest players running past them, so they just had to just hack at them. Like it was actually embarrassing from Spurs.
Yeah, it was. It was. I think they're just absolutely miles off it. And the overlaps are interesting because you had Ange there last season, and then he went to Forest, and he's the one that got Forest into this position, and now you've got Frank in
Mm.
at Spurs, and their defense is as bad as it should be statistically. The amount of chances they're giving up, they're conceding around as much as they're giving up. And then they're overperforming their attack by 10 goals. So they should actually be even worse than they are, which is hard to imagine. And I
Yeah,
don't think Frank is going to last too long because they're going to slip down the table playing like this. They've got Liverpool this weekend. I think that should be a game that Liverpool will be licking their lips over, and a great opportunity to keep climbing. Then Palace away, which is such a tough game. Brentford away, which has proven to be tough. Sunderland, who just don't seem to quit, and they seem like a team that could just run all over Spurs because Spurs look unfit, not physical at all at times, as you've mentioned. And then lastly, they've got Brentford away or Bournemouth away, sorry, which is
Yeah.
another really tough game. So that next five, if he doesn't pick up more than 9 points there, he could be gone because I honestly, if they lose three in a row or four in a row at any point, I don't know how they stick with him because the football just isn't something that you can get behind either.
Yeah, I think a couple of those games are coming at a good time. So especially playing Sunderland now, they've lost five players to AFCON. So unless any of
Yeah,
them are back in by the time that comes around, I think it's a really good time to play Sunderland around now. Like if Newcastle played Sunderland this weekend instead of last weekend, they probably beat them. But geez, although that Newcastle
that's no.
performance, I'm glad we don't have to talk about it. To be honest, it was absolutely atrocious. But Sunderland weren't much better than them either. But like they're losing, I think it's sorry, they're losing seven players to AFCON and five of them played against Newcastle. So if none of them are back, it's a good time to play them. Outside of that, I hope Liverpool can go and just do a job on Spurs. Palace were really unlucky. I know they lost 3-0 in the end, but they were actually really
Yeah,
good
they were
against
good in
City at
that
the
game.
weekend. It's just Man City just have that freak show up front, and Phil Foden is on fire as well. So it's hard. Like there's not much you can do, honestly. It's never a 3-0 game. So like you could see Palace absolutely pulling one over on Spurs there. And then like Brentford at times look like they could beat anyone at times, look like they can lose to anyone. So that's the one that really is a toss up. And then Bournemouth away depends on what Bournemouth shows opposite the 0-all against Chelsea or the 4-all against United. We'll have to wait and see. But like they could be without Semenyo at that stage. Semenyo could be at City or United or Liverpool or Spurs. So we'll have to wait and see by the time that rolls around.
Yeah, it is an interesting run of games. There's so many things going into it. And also the Palace game might be the best time because you have no Munoz, and he's so
Yeah.
important to the team. So that's an interesting one too. But I think enough time on Spurs. I don't know
Mm.
what's going to happen there, but it doesn't look good. Bruno Fernandes. So there's an interview done with him. The Portuguese national team set it up, and it was done a couple of few weeks ago. And but the quotes are only coming out from it now, so we'll just give you like the synopsis of it and maybe what it means and what it says about Man United. To be honest, to me more than it does about Bruno. He said that the club wanted me to go in reference to the summer. He said he has that in his head. He told the directors that, but I think they didn't have the courage to make that decision. I decided to stay because of family reasons, which we knew his wife kind of talked him into it, but also because I genuinely like the club. The conversation with the manager also made me stay, but from the club side, I felt a bit like if you leave, it's not so bad for us. It hurts me a lot more than hurting. It makes me sad because I'm a player that they have nothing to criticize about. I'm always available. I always play, good or bad. I give my all. Then you see things around you, players who don't value the club as much and don't defend the club as much. That makes you sad. I think it's kind of sad to read those quotes as a United fan because it's a disgrace what the club have done the time that he's been there. How amazing he's been at United since he joined, since 2020. And they've not put a good system around him that works. They've moved him all over. They've asked him this year to play defensive midfield, for God's sake. We have so many different managers in, so many different players, so much different drama and stuff going on and off the pitch. And he's always given his full effort. I think James Madison on Monday Night Football last week put it well when he said that he's underrated because everyone knows he's good, but he gets a lot of hate for other reasons. And also, when you play for big teams, you're going to get hate. But like for me, he's probably the most creative attacking midfielder in the world right now. And yet, he's playing defensive midfield, and yet he gives all his effort, and the club are literally they literally said to him like the money is there, the money that's there is a good offer for you, so if you want to go you can go. In other words, yeah, whatever, you can go. That's not how you speak to a player that you want to keep and someone that you want to keep happy, and yet he's still, I think he's put in more effort this season than any other, and that's what happened in the off season, or the preseason. It's, yeah, I just, horrible taste in my mouth was left after reading that.
Yeah, so in England, when a player starts approaching 30, they start thinking they need a makeover. It's like the furniture. That was one that stood out with me because it's not like he's been on a a decreasing level over the last 2 years. If anything, he's been getting better and better. So, like, it's not Football Manager. I do that in Football Manager. When players start getting 30, I start looking at getting rid of them. Like, but I'm not the manager of a real football club. Spend with the hundreds of millions on the line. Like, I was reading the quotes again today, just going through them, and they're mad. I completely understand why he's come out with them. I don't understand how it's taken the bones of 3 weeks for the post to come out into the public. It seems kind of conveniently timed
Mm,
coming into the January transfer window for me. But until you win trophies, you're not valued as much, regardless of the club and league you're in. I was values, and what values me most has to be the club. Although lately I feel like I'm on thin ice. If he's on thin ice, then the rest of them are in real, real trouble because the rest of them are doing absolutely nothing in comparison to what he's doing. There's another one as well about he nearly left 2 summers ago, and
yeah,
the issue of loyalty isn't viewed the same as it was. I could have left the last transfer window, earned a much more money. I was going to leave a season ago. I won't say where, but I would have won more trophies that season. I decided to stay because of family, and you've gone into them, and I genuinely love the club. But like, are United trying to push him out for the last 2 years, and now it's like there's another offer in January from Saudi, so he's like release those quotes so the fans know if I go in January, it's not really my decision.
yeah. It's not mine. Yeah,
I kind of feel like it's on one hand, I kind of wish Salah would have come out and just spoke like this instead of being so kind of veiled cloaks of his one. But also, I don't like that either of them have had to do these interviews in the last couple of weeks to try and defend themselves at the clubs they've given so much to. And as you said, it leaves a sour taste. I thought Salah was in the wrong. I don't know. I think Bruno might be in the wrong. It'll depend on how it plays out from here. We'll have to wait and see. But I just think it's a really weird interview to do 3 weeks ago for it to not come out straight away. Like, how is a journalist sitting on this for 3 or 4 weeks and then saying, okay, now is the time to release it?
yeah. I think it could have been, like you said, coordinated with the time, but also sometimes things are embargoed till certain points based on obviously whatever period it was done in a different country as well with the Portuguese media. I don't know what way that whole situation worked, but it does seem conveniently timed, almost as if, like you said, if I go in the summer or in the January transfer window, it's because of the club. But I think this couldn't be further worlds apart than what Salah did. Like, he's coming out and saying things that actually happened and what the club
Yeah,
actually
no,
said to him, and
yeah,
he's saying that.
that's what I meant when I said I wish Salah would have done it this way. Would have come out and said the manager said this or the board have told me I'm not going to start for the next 8 weeks. Instead, of come out with all the kind of the nonsense he came out with. So no, I agree with you there. I just wanted to say that. Sorry.
Yeah, I think not even like on what you said there, but I saw an article today on ESPN basically saying that the two of them did the same thing from Mark Ogden, who openly admitted he hates Man United. So I don't know where the journalistic integrity is there, but like these things are not the same. I think Bruno's in a situation where the club is clearly not treating him properly for how well he's done. Like, if you're looking here this season alone, like you said, he's only getting better. Second most goals and assists in the Premier League with 12, most assists with 7, most chances created with 50, which, by the way, he's the first player in Europe's top 5 leagues to reach 50 this season. Since his debut in February 2020 for United, he's created 588 chances. It's 156 more than second place. So he's just on another planet in terms of his ability as an attacking creator. And
Mm.
as I've already said, he's not playing in the right position. I just I just don't know. Like, the team cannot let him go. They just simply can't. If he goes, it's going to be even worse. Like, the talk in the summer, we'll sell him and use the money to get Baleba. Do you see how horribly Baleba has been playing this season? Like, you're talking about one of the best players in Europe, one of the best in the world, and you want to sell him just so you can get an unproven player. No, Baleba's the type of player you need to play alongside him. And these things, yeah, the fans as well just don't make sense. And I think as as if you heard the fans all saying, sell him, whatever, they're just seeing it from the outside, not knowing what's going on. But then inside the club, this is what's going on. That's just a massive issue. And it's just creating more smoke because Mainu, like, he didn't get to play much, and Amram had terrible quotes on him and some of the other young players. Next thing, Mainu's brother is wearing a T-shirt saying "Free Kobe Mainu," throw smoke on the fire, and we know what that's going to lead to. The way the media is in England, the different types of articles that are going to be written about Mainu and his family there. So that doesn't help anything. And now this with Bruno is just constantly something, especially when in that Bournemouth game. I know it was 4-4, but United looked so much more promising than they had at any other point this season, attacking wise, and kind of more fluidity, and finally looked like a United I watched 10 years ago because they actually fought back. They threw the kitchen sink at the game, and it didn't work. But I would take a 4-4 playing like that than the horrible way they've been playing over the last few years, any day of the week. So to come off the back of that to just be brought back down to earth with this and the menu thing is just, yeah, it's just sickening.
Yeah, Kobe Mainoo's brother is an idiot. Is all I'm going to say in that. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, things are bad enough for the kid without your brother trying to use you to stick onto his 15 minutes of fame because his Love Island contracts are running out. That's all he's doing. He's just trying to keep himself in headlines in the media. Oh, look what Kobe Maynard's brother did. Oh, look, that's the guy from this. Like, he's an absolute idiot. He was an idiot back then. He's an idiot now. Like, who gives anyone the sign off to go into stadium and do that? There's no way Kobe Mano is like, oh yeah, absolutely do that. I can't wait to see it. Like, that's something he's
Pitch side,
decided to
like,
go and do off his own back. Yeah. What an absolute clown. Um, yeah, I think that, like, if Kobe Mainoo goes in January now, then I think that what his brother has done is going to have played a massive hand in how this works out for Kobe Mainoo now, and that's absolutely ridiculous from any family member to that. It's the reason it annoys me so much is because this is what Trent's brother was doing at times last year, not as pronounced as free Trent Alexander Arnold, but like putting up like Instagrams during the match of like beating Liverpool on FIFA and stuff like that. Just little things that were all out to try and just get in people's heads and like, oh well, we had to go because I was Trent was upset with how I was being spoken to. It's like, yeah, the, the stuff you brought on yourself. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Kobe Mainoo. That could be next week's story. But for Bruno, like everything you said is dead right, and he's one of the players that if he's on your team, you like him. It's not on your team, you love him, and he's not on my team, so you don't love him if he's not on your team. And I really dislike him, but there's no denying that he is a really, really good footballer. I just dislike him because he's so mouthy. Um, I said last year I didn't think he was much of a captain for United. I've been kind of made to eat my words for 99% of that now since I said that back. I think it was either our first or our second episode, 51, 52 weeks ago or episodes ago, but if he goes in January and Kobe Mainoo goes in January, then United are in. Ooh, they're in real bother. If Mainoo forced to move and they accept this Saudi offer that I think is probably on the table for Bruno, then where are you going? Are you going to sign Semenyo and play him defensive midfield next? Because defensive midfield is not that far from when Amram wants to play him as right wing back. So we'll have to wait and see what United do. But like, I actually that game was so enjoyable the other night as a neutral. I'm not sure if you enjoyed it as much, but when United went to the 4-4-2, they just looked so much better. Mateus Cunha was just had so much freedom down the left. And Bremo was quite an issue the other night, the amount of chances he missed, but that's just one of those games. Well, I don't think he's been like that all season. I think he's been scoring goals, so just kind of chalked it off as one of those. But even Seshko looked reborn, having a second man beside him. I know he didn't score, but he didn't look terrible, and he was like leading breaks as well. So 4-4-2 might be the future. It gets Bruno 4-4 further forward as well, and that was some free kick he took too. But I just think if United start selling players like him, then everything, even if you're not back on the way to where you were, you just go plummeting right back down to the bottom of the mountain if you're going selling players like him again.
Yeah, I 100% agree. If him and Mainu are gone, it's pretty much two of the most enjoyable parts about the club for me because one thing is just playing young players, and if they're not going to get played, like Mainu had a good game, I thought, when he came on. So this is, I think the next thing would be he'd get a start in the next few weeks, and this might just put him way back to the back of the line. The thing that his brother did, obviously, and now we've got Bruno possibly leave. Like, I just, yeah, let's wait and see what happens because if those two guys are gone, it's, yeah, it's really bad. But yeah, I agree with the 4-4-2 just made the world of difference. Even in the first half, it was set up as a three at the back, but Ahmad pushed so high it was basically a 4-3-3, and it looked good there too. And then the 4-4-2 looked good as well. So all of it looked a lot better. So let's hope it continues, as a United fan. But let's quickly preview Newcastle versus Chelsea. So We've got Newcastle at home to Chelsea, 12:30 p.m. Saturday, the early game. It's a pretty big one for Newcastle, I would say, because at home they have 16 points in 8 games, but overall they've only 22, so they're only taking 6 games from their other eight, 6 points from their other eight away from home. So this one is at home. It's hard to evaluate because they were so bad away at Sunderland. I think Eddie Howe set them up all wrong again away from home, just hoping to scrape out a 0-0 or a 1-0 counter attack, which he's done a lot this season. And then at home they look at a completely different team. And then Chelsea, their overall form would point to a win because they've looked better over the last few weeks, and but they were on a winless run of 4 games before they beat Everton at the weekend and Cardiff in the League Cup, so not exactly world beaters. And then away
Mm.
from home, they're actually the second best team in the league, 14 points in 8 games, 15 goals for and 8 against. So there's so many confusing things that are counteracting each other in form and how these teams are playing to call it.
Yeah, that Sunderland Newcastle game was one of the biggest games of nothing happening I've ever seen in my life. The own goal from Baltimore is just some finish from a striker in the
Cracking
wrong
finish.
box. Yeah, it's unbelievable finish. But and Eddie Howe started that game like he was 1-0 up. 4-5-1, just playing so deep. Sunderland's back four were basically playing on the halfway line, and this is Sunderland team who want to sit back and kind of draw pressure on themselves. It was like two teams just sitting off each other, didn't know what to do. I think the XG was 0.24 to 0.24 at the end, which is criminally low for a game of football, especially a derby. And I've said it for a long time. Look, I don't think Eddie Howe is the biggest spoofer in the league. I think that's Arteta, but Eddie Howe is definitely the heir to the throne when Arteta gets sacked at the end of the season as the biggest spoofer in the league. I just don't. I think he's an okay manager, but he's not a manager to be managing a team that is in the Champions League. After every Champions League season they have, the year they're in the Champions League, they're always really poor. He can't do this 3 games a week. He doesn't know how to do it. His subs again were very strange. I know he had a couple of players missing, but like I presume Joe Linton wasn't fit or he would have played some sort of minutes, so he'll probably be back this week. I think Chelsea are just going to walk in here and just stroll about and walk out again with a 2-0 win. I don't see
Okay.
Newcastle being able to put a judge on them. I
Hmm.
still don't know if Chelsea are good, a bit like all the NFL teams. But this is not one we're going to be able to judge him on.
Yeah, I've said my dad is a Newcastle fan. I've said to him like multiple times throughout the years that I don't think Howe is good enough for the level Newcastle want to be at. And then it always seems like a month after that, then Newcastle win like 6 games in a row. And it's like, oh, how, he's doing a good job now. But like you said, being an elite manager is being able to navigate these seasons where you do have Champions League. They're doing brilliantly in the Champions League this time around, but then in the league they're doing so bad. And the way he sets them up away from home is it's really hard to watch and it's hard to get behind. It's hard to see that that's the right thing to do, and you can clearly tell that it's not, despite how they played away from home last season. It doesn't excuse it. And so yeah, I don't know. I think Chelsea are quite creative. They create a lot of chances, third most big chances in the league, and then they've got Cole Palmer coming back now, so they're going to get more clinical, going to create more chances. And I just think, despite Newcastle's home record, I think Chelsea will have too much for them. So I've gone with a 2-1 to Chelsea here. So we've both got Chelsea to win. I think, yeah, I think it's going to be a win for Chelsea. I think they might go on a bit of a run here, as they tend to do, and then fall off again. So let's see how that one goes. Wrapping up then on our power rankings. I'll throw it to you first if you want to give last week's and then this week's.
Yeah, perfect. So last week I was OKC, Arsenal, Villa, Rockets, Patriots, and Broncos. I've made a couple of changes this week. So OKC stay top because they're the best team in all of sports at the moment. Villa move up to second for me. Broncos up to third. The Bills are in to replace the Patriots. That game was mad. I can't believe we didn't actually touch on it when we are talking about it. But the Bills are just an absolute class act. I have had to drop out the Rockets for the Knicks, obviously NBA Cup champions, but they're also 9-1 in their last 10. So they're on a really good 10. Sorry, really good run. And I finally got the chance to knock out Arsenal and they're gone. And in come Man City, who are 4 wins and a draw in their last five, and will hopefully go top the Premier League this weekend.
Yeah, I like the list. I still can't believe you don't have the Rams in there because for me they're just such a good team that I just can't see how they can't be in there. They're just unbelievable. But I've got a changed up list. I'm going with the Knicks first. They won the NBA
Ooh.
Cup. Let's give them a pop. They're I can already tell you they're going back down again next week, but I wanted to give it to them for
Yeah.
this week because I think
Okay.
they deserve it for their cup win. In second, I still have the Rams. They haven't moved. OKC are in third, but they're probably going to climb back up. Just with the
Yeah.
Knicks haven't gotten this little cup run. Obviously they're still the best team in basketball, but it's nice to have a bit of a change at the top. Fourth, then I've got City. They're a new entry. 5 wins in a row. They're just in all competitions. They're just flying. And they're winning right now
Mm.
in the Carabao Cup as we're recording this one on a Wednesday, and 1-0 up to Brentford. Fifth, then I've got Arsenal. 3 wins and a draw in their last five, and one loss. So not horrible, but they were pretty poor against Wolves and didn't look very powerful compared to the way City have looked recently. So they slipped down one. And then the Broncos are in for me at six because what Bo Nix did with them is really, really special against the Packers. But I don't think it's a long term thing. But for now, they look powerful, so they're getting that last spot. So I've got Knicks, Rams, OKC, City, Arsenal, and Broncos. I'm sorry.
You have
Last week,
four the
last week,
same.
yeah, four the same. Last week, I forgot to say mine was OKC, Rams, Villa, Arsenal, Seahawks, and Spurs. San Antonio Spurs. So I dropped out Villa, Seahawks, and San Antonio Spurs.
I can't believe
Um,
you dropped out Villa of all
I just
teams,
th-
but
I just think that, like we talked about last week, like they're overperforming massively, and I think
oh yeah, their
they're
XG makes no sense.
but like they're still really good, and they definitely be third on a Premier League power rankings. But I just think City, what they're doing, and Arsenal, what they've done across the season, just is a little bit better for me.
Fair enough.
But yeah, that's it for this week. Got a lot in there for you guys. Hope you enjoyed the episode. All the usual good stuff to like and subscribe and leave a comment, rate, review, everything. All you can do it for us, please. Shane, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, there's not much to add to that, lads. We'll see you next week. Thank you very much.
Nice one, lads.
Welcome back to another episode of Who's Got the Ball with Shane and James.